Fran Lab. When I'm out on my walks in the city, I like to listen to music, but I've done videos on this before. I've done videos on earbuds, and I'll put a link in the description. And in that video, I talk particularly about how you want to have a sound meter to be able to check the decibel output of your earbuds to make sure that you're not causing hearing damage, and to set your levels and your EQ. I do a crazy EQ curve on my player. I have this curve set up so that I have a really big bump around, between 300 and 700 hertz. That's going to be like the majority of the sound. I take out the deep bass because that's too percussive, and I pretty much have a bell-shaped curve where I roll off all the frequencies above 5K completely. I do this to help reduce the affecting my tinnitus, which is pre-existing. I've got several dissonant tones which will ring if those frequencies are hit too hard, or if frequencies in the upper hearing range are stimulated too much. My tinnitus will come back, and I'll hear about a dozen dissonant sine wave tones in my collective hearing. And so to get my tinnitus down, I have to wear hearing protections that I'm not stimulating my cochlea in any of those frequencies if I can avoid it. So wearing earbuds to basically take down the ambient sound by about 15-20 decibels about is what they do. So sometimes I will put the earbuds in without actually playing any music, and I'll just use the earbuds as basically sound reduction to cut down like that 15-20 dB of street noise. But when I do play my music, I play it at a whisper. I never play my music at a level where I drown out street noise, because then you're just making yourself deaf. It's got to be, basically with the noise reduction of, the earplugs. You want to have the music set basically like the street noise of cars going by and horns honking and stuff, that the music is going in and out of that noise. You don't want to overdrive the ambient noise, because if you've got like 15 dB reduction with just the earbuds themselves, and if the ambient noise is like 95, 97 dB, then you're somewhere in like 80, 82 dB area with just the earbuds in with no music, and that's going to be okay for your hearing. So you don't want to add 10 dB on top of that of music, because then you're driving into 90 decibels and you're going to be hurting your hearing. I have been using these AKG Samsung branded earbuds for a long time, and I've pretty much just sort of worn them out. The drivers have gotten weak over time, and the cabling is all broken, the silicone is all broken, and so it's like, it's just the wires are coming apart. And I really had to buy another pair, but they really don't make them anymore. So I ended up buying a Sennheiser. I bought two because it was like a 2-for-1. The Sennheiser Precision, right? I use plugged earphones. I do not use USB-C. I do not use Bluetooth. I don't want amplifiers in the earbuds because they fail. And when I did have amplified earbuds a couple of times when I tried them, and every single time there was a software crash or a boot up failure where you would start up the phone and all the settings would be reset, and then you hit play, and if you have the earbud in, it's 100% volume, and you're blowing out your eardrums. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to have amplifiers, I'm not going to have processors in the earbuds, because it's just inevitable that software will fail, it'll get confused, it'll default to 100%, it'll ignore my filters. I've got filters and dB limiters and audio compressors all set up to protect my hearing and keep it within a very strict range. And there will come a time when there will be just some kind of a bug, and you'll put the earbuds in and you'll hit play, and all that will fail. So the only way to get around that is you have to have dumb earbuds, which you have to have in the 3.5 millimeter jack, and I have a special phone that I don't even use as a phone. It's just an MP3 player that I have all the MP3 software in there, so I could have the audio compression, the equalizer, all that stuff. It's all just to protect my hearing so I can hear music without damaging my hearing. And they've got to be dumb earphones. But these Sennheisers, I had them set up with the EQ and everything, all that stuff I aforementioned. And I was going out and everything, and, it sounded fine. The volume level was just where I like it, kind of like right in there with the traffic noise. I'm doing everything the same way. And, at the end of the day, my ears are ringing. Like, man, why is my tinnitus so bad? And it's like, it must have been really loud at the barcade, I kept my earbuds in with the music off, but, maybe it's louder than usual. Maybe the music is too loud. As a couple weeks went on using these, I guess 2 weeks using these Sennheisers, I'm just sitting, in the morning and my ears are ringing. I'm like, what the hell's wrong? So I got back from a walk one day. I said, well, everything sounds fine, but there must be something off. These earbuds, they must be producing inaudible frequencies. There must be something above my perceptible hearing. And it must be like a loud tone or noise that's above what I can hear that's causing my ears to ring. Because I know that if I'm exposed to higher frequencies, that my cochlea will start to bring up the tinnitus. So I got out my audio sound meter, and I put it on the earbuds, and first I adjusted them, and I got it to a place like, okay, everything's at the normal range, it sounds fine, it's comfortable. I'm doing my humming test. The hum test is that you get the earbuds in, you're playing the music, and you close your mouth and hum along to the music. And if your internal sound of your own voice is the same as the music, if the music isn't louder than your own internal voice, then you're at a good, safe level. Passed all tests. Take out the earbuds. Okay, I'm going to check it. Take the earbud, you put it on the sound meter right up against it. It's like 95 decibels. I was like, WTF? And so I turned down the volume, and I put in my ears. It's like at a whisper. I can barely hear the music. It's like, man, no. It's like whisper quiet. Put it on the audio meter, 95 decibels. WTF? These are supposed to be dumb headphones. There must be active electronics in this. Because even if I turned down the volume, it was remaining that there was some high frequency there that was remaining, like hiss, like high frequency hiss, or a high frequency tone. Or if they're dumb, then the drivers themselves must be creating harmonic sounds, like clicking sounds or noise. The drivers must be creating noise at high frequencies just from moving. But even turning it down, and I got it to where it was almost completely silent in the earbuds, and it was still rating like 87, 90 decibel peaks. It's like, this is impossible. But it was inaudible frequencies. I wish that I had a dynamic, calibrated audio spectrum meter. I actually looked into buying one or getting one for just to do an experiment with these, but like to get like an actual like real laboratory audio spectrum meter, you're gonna start in like $2,500 range for a used one. So I was like, no, it's way too much for a project. But the basic audio meter was showing that the reason my ears were ringing is that the earbuds were contaminated with ultra high frequencies. So I went back to my AKGs. I just swapped out my AKGs, same EQ, same settings and everything, the old AKGs that I had retired, put them in, tested them. It's peaking at 80, 82 decibels. It's like perfectly fine. It's like, yeah, so obviously it's the earbuds, but I never thought that dumb earbuds could cause hearing damage with high frequencies. But it must be something in the mechanics of the driver. They have something in there. Because, I mean, basically it's just a simple piston. You got a magnet, you got a coil, and you have a piston that's moving in and out to move air. But somewhere in there, either the membrane, I was thinking maybe the membrane that they used was some kind of plastic membrane, and as it moves, it's making like you know, it's crackling, it's making like snappy sounds, it's some kind of high frequency thing, but something I can't hear. It's in my deaf range. Because anything, you know, at my age, you know, anything over like 7K, I really don't have any hearing. So it's somewhere in those higher regions. It could even be like up to like 20K or something, but it's somewhere in that high region. But it's in the 90 plus decibels, 95 decibels it was peaking with normal music. So yeah, you have to have some kind of electronic meter to test your earphones to see what you're really getting exposed to, because here I was depending on my hearing to let me know if the settings were right. But it was frequencies outside of my hearing that were causing my cochlea more damage. So I've had to go without music for a while. I'm in the recovery phase. So basically I have these musicians earplugs that I can wear. They're 20 dB reduction earplugs. And I've been putting them in when I leave the lab. So I do my walks, I just leave my musicians earplugs in. So I'm basically just protecting my hearing and keeping volumes low. And then like in a week, I'll go back to maybe starting to listen to music again, but I have to give some time for my the nerves and my cochlea to recover. Yes, commenter says you can use computer software to do spectral analysis of recorded sound. Yes, that's totally true, and you can get stuff like that, but you know, you need the proper microphone, and if you're testing an earbud, that can be a hard sell. It can be hard to get a proper microphone to pick up the broadcast from an earbud, because I considered all that too, but it's like, yeah, how do you do the pickup? Because then you're relying on the accuracy of a microphone. You basically have to have a pinhole microphone, a full spectrum pinhole microphone to be able to monitor an earbud. But fortunately, my sound meter does have a pinhole microphone, so it's the ideal electronic device to monitor the output of an earbud, because it has a tiny little aperture, and you just cover the earbud over the aperture with a little silicone pad. It's 100% accurate. Because I thought, well, I could just use one of my oscilloscopes, you know. But then again, so how do you pick up that, you know, accurately? You know, there was really no way to like isolate and pick up an earbud output into a microphone to analyze it. That's really the bottleneck of the whole process. It's starting to find decent headphones at stores now that aren't earbuds at reasonable prices. Well, that's true. That's why I scour eBay for new old stock. The AKGs that were made for the Samsung phones, for me, are the best. They're easy to control. They don't create any of those high frequency artifacts. I think those AKG Samsung made 3.5 millimeter plug earphones, they're the best ones that I've found, because again, for the sound isolation when you're out on the street, and also for the frequency control. So basically, I've been scouring eBay for new old stock ones, you know, ones that they might be 10 years old, but you know, they're not going to go bad. You know, they're earphones, and they're gonna still work. So I've been trying to stock up on new old stock ones. The problem was that I had gotten a couple of them that were sold as new, and they were clearly like they're knockoffs, really cheap knockoffs. I mean, they weren't even like close to being. The wires were so thin, and they were really short. It's like that's all the indicators of counterfeit. You know, if the leads are short and the wires are thin, and the labels are all like misaligned, and it's like clearly thrown together by grade school kids in some shady factory. But that's kind of what you get on eBay. I've been really carefully looking for the specific packaging that was the original Samsung packaging, and they come up every now and then, and if I see one, I'll get one. What about headphones instead of earbuds? Well, the problem is I wear glasses and I wear a hat, and earphones are not easy, and if you're not wearing the headphones, you've got, I'm not gonna like wear headphones like I'm not 25. I'm not gonna have headphones around my neck like a DJ. And like I said, the earbuds serve two purposes. One is I wear them without music as noise reduction, and not noise canceling. It's very important, because noise canceling is dangerous. You don't want to wear noise canceling anything if you're walking out on the street. I see people do that with the noise canceling headphones. They're completely unaware. I mean, a freaking car could be running up on them with their horn blowing and they wouldn't even hear it because they're blissfully noise canceled. You don't want to do that if you're walking around the street. You got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to know what the hell's going on. You have to be able to hear. But you have to do something to reduce the extremely high decibel alarms, sirens, screaming, horns, squealing brakes. That's what you want to reduce. Can't use oscilloscope for spectrum analyzer. Yes, Carl, I talked about that. You indeed can, but what are you going to use to pick up the audio? You need a pinhole microphone to pick up the audio from an earbud. If you've got the pinhole microphone, a full spectrum verified pinhole microphone that you know is going to pick up all the proper frequencies and that you know is flatline calibrated, then you've got your mix. And of course you have to have your completely linear amplifier to be able to amplify that, preamp. And then you can use your scope as your spectrum analyzer, but it's all that front end stuff that I talked about that you don't have. Sennheiser, very reputable brand. That's why I bought it, but it made me deaf. Totally unexpected. I bought it because yes, totally reputable. But these Sennheisers are engineered in Germany, but manufactured in China. Something very, very wrong with the design because high frequency deafness, inaudible frequency deafness, verified by my dB meter in the 95 decibel plus, inaudible. Still think a pair of decent headphones can be the best experience. Yes. Well, that would be true, but I'm not going to wear headphones out on the street for all those reasons I mentioned. I'm not going to wrangle headphones, and you can't wear headphones with a good hat and glasses. You're not going to get a seal around the ears, and they do not really make full ear covering headphones anymore. I mean, there are some, but they're extremely expensive, and I cannot bear the pressure of earphones that are on, not around, but on the ears. All of the earphones that they have now, they rest on the cartilage of the ears. And if you're wearing glasses and then you have earphones that are pressing on the cartilage and you have that pressure, that constant pressure, after about 20 minutes, you're going to have an ache that'll take hours to go away. There's lots of reasons I don't like those headphones. Even though I have these Sony monitors, and even these are too small because they don't cover my whole ear. They're sort of on, they're sort of a little bit, even these, they're a little bit on my ears. These were the closest I could get to ear covering. I mean, they're fine. I mean, I use them in the studio, I use them here. But even these can get uncomfortable after a little while. I liked my older, larger, it's sort of totally takes the ear so that there's like no ear pressure at all. Because even with those, I mean, yeah, they cover the ear, but they're too shallow, and so like the ear cartilage is still being pushed on, and again, that becomes an ache after a while, But I could go on and on about earphones. I guess earphones are extremely subjective. What works for some person isn't going to work for somebody else. And so I guess it's like anything else. Once you find something that really works for you, you just want to stick with it. Because it seems like whenever you deviate from that, you just end up accumulating problems and asking for trouble. That's where I work. In the lab. Go berserk. In my lab. That's where I work. Friendly. That's what you're watching. Friendly. That's what I'm doing. Working at the bench again.